Welcome, boys and girls. I'm here to tell you a story. It's called A Fishing Trip to Playgreen Lake. And it's written by Samuel Parmar. He's a teacher in a grade 3 school in Norway House called the Jack River School. And this book is illustrated by the grade 3 students. They did the pictures, like this one, of the boat and the people fishing on the front of the cover. And here is the story of going to Playgreen Lake, which is a big lake close to Norway House. Joe was excited as he headed out of the school. Summer was finally here, and he had 2 whole months to have lots of fun and adventure. This was going to be a great summer holiday. Joe was looking forward to playing a variety of outdoor games. He enjoyed swimming, jumping on his trampoline, and playing baseball with his friends in the nearby park. But his favorite activity was going fishing. Often Joe would ride his bike down to the water, and he would fish from the shorelines. But he also liked fishing on the lake in the family boat with his dad. Tomorrow, his dad was taking him fishing on beautiful Playgreen Lake. He could hardly wait. That evening, Joe got ready to go fishing. He checked his tackle box to see if he had enough hooks and line. Then he did a few practice casts in the backyard to make sure the fish line was not tangled, and everything looked perfect and ready to go. Later, Joe went to the kitchen and made several sandwiches and packed lunch for his dad and himself. And afterwards, he read his favorite book until it was time to go to bed. The next morning, he got up really early. He was full of energy and excitement. He showered and had breakfast with his dad. Then he helped load up the truck and placed all their fishing gear and the cooler with their lunch securely in the boat. Joe watched as his dad attached their boat to the back of the truck. After that, they drove down to the lake and prepared to launch the boat. Joe helped his dad place the boat into the water. And then they got into their boat and headed to their favorite fishing spot at the high rocks. It was a 20-minute boat ride to this particular site. They got off to a great start and then began to fish. After a while, Joe felt a tug on his hook and began to reel the fish in toward the boat. Suddenly, the fish disappeared with a splash. He wondered where the fish had gone. The same thing happened to his dad. The 2 fishermen were puzzled. What was happening to their fish catches? Joe put another hook on his line and began to fish again. He soon had another fish pulling strongly on his line. Just then, he saw a brown animal grab his fish off the hook before he could get it into the boat. To his surprise, there was a family of river otters swimming near the boat. How are we going to keep our catches away from these river otters? Joe whispered to himself. Dad, he said, the river otters are taking our fish, he said, pointing. Oh, His dad nodded. So that's what's happening to our fish catches. Joe said, we need a way to distract the river otters while we fish. That's a great idea, said his dad. And so Joe thought about how he could gently distract the river otters so they would stop taking their fish catches. First, he splashed the lake water, but they just kept coming back. Next, he threw some of their lunch into the water nearby to try and distract the family of otters. But they just swam over to the food, ate it happily, and then came back for more fish. Joe was running out of ideas. Suddenly, he noticed his softball sitting in the bottom of the boat. He'd forgotten to take it out of the boat the last time they went fishing. Maybe he could distract the otters with the softball. After all, otters are known to be playful animals, and a softball would be something new. Joe threw the softball into the water. There it is. To his astonishment, the otters began to play with the ball. They even began passing the ball around to each other. It was amazing, watching river otters play ball on Playgreen Lake. This kept the otters happily distracted while Joe and his dad fished. Soon, Joe and his dad had caught lots of fish. They caught 3 walleye, 5 pickerel, and 2 northern pike. The fishing trip was a huge success. Joe decided to leave the softball with the family of otters because they were having so much fun with it. After they'd caught all the fish, his dad started up the boat, and they headed back to the shore with their big catch. Joe could hardly wait to get home and cook the fish with his dad. He just loved to eat fresh caught fish with potatoes and beans. That evening, when they were back at home, Joe told his mom the story of the family of river otters and how they kept taking the fish that Dad and he had caught. And she laughed when Joe told her that he'd used a softball to keep the river otters playing and distracted so that they could fish. It had been a great fishing trip, thanks to Joe's quick thinking. They all enjoyed the wonderful fish dinner together, and everyone was happy, including the otters at Playgreen Lake.